We are back, everyone. A beautiful summer morning here in Berlin. As we embark on the cruise ship of the mind, I was thinking of getting Twitter verified, but then I thought I'm no longer on a pirate ship if I'm verified. Maybe I'm on the cruise ship of the mind, and I thought maybe that's not so bad. Anyway, decisions. Welcome back. Artist Journal, June 26, 2023. Broadcasting to the world from a beautiful summer morning here in Berlin, Germany. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. Welcome back, and welcome to a new week, and welcome to Andre Summer Blues' new work here. A wild composition, I would argue. A beautiful, very psychedelic composition. In Goa, I used to DJ Goa trance, which is another word for psychedelic trance, and because it came out of Goa, India, supposedly, at the Goa beach parties that would be there. And there was a type of psychedelic trance that I called deep Goa. And that was the deepest stuff, the most off the wall, but not necessarily still groovy. And again, for those that are familiar with this, I would slow it down to minus 4 to 6%, because I found it was much groovier that way. Otherwise, I found the music too fast. But there's kind of a really cool few tracks that or almost a style of tracks that I would call deep Goa, and that's what this reminds me of. This is like deep psychedelic imagery here. And just to untangle it very quickly here, I mean, we have a skeleton here with some cool kind of colors inside, with what looks like, I want to call it the German, with his Hund, with his hound, with his dog, seemingly, and kind of looking off into the distance, both of them together, almost kind of like partners of sorts. And then you have this kind of interesting, what would you call this? The guy with the scythe playing Grim Reaper, playing a violin. Now, maybe that's a trope that I'm just not familiar with. I've never seen that before. I don't know if you've seen that before, but a Grim Reaper playing the violin. Maybe that's common. I feel like maybe it is, and I just didn't know about it. But to me, this feels new, if that's in fact what that is. And then we have all sorts of, again, very psychedelic bugs calling Rennie fish, and here's some flowers with happy faces. And then you have the sun with an eye in it and all this other stuff, again, and then the rays come across, but it's also space, cosmic planets and stars interspersed within the rays. In a sense, none of this makes sense, and it all totally makes sense at the same time. It's tempting to call it super rational, as Dali would call it. I call it deep psychedelic, shall we say, with some nice patterning at the bottom. So very cool release here from Andre Summer Blues through the prism of sacredness. And yeah, referencing psychedelics again in the description. And here, I thought this was quite interesting too, a really fun idea. The collector of Through the Prism of Sacredness will get both the final and the sketch. So here's the sketch. So a window into Andre Summer Blues' process here. And what I thought was quite interesting about this is look at how simple the sketch is, and look at how different the sketch is. You see the sun on top, and it was almost more of a vertical composition at the beginning, and kind of like the guy with his Hund looking off into the distance, almost as if they were in the African savannah 100,000 years ago, looking off and wondering what it all means. And here you see the, much larger vision. So very cool. And I like the mechanic. I don't think sketches are really used enough. I use them happily, as we're going to see once again with the pixel art sketchbook, but I just think it's really cool. Because if this is a historic scene, people are going to want to see the sketches, right? And so I thought just a really cool mechanic as well, and a nice incentive for buyers. Sketches are interesting because I sell them fairly cheap, or you can do like Andre, give it away with the finished work, if there's a finished work associated with sketch. So just very interesting. Here are some other works by Andre. So that was released on Super Rare, just minted, I think, yesterday. And you can see Andre's other works here. Andre's Summer Blues art, if they show up. Out of Indonesia, interestingly. Another artist out of Indonesia. Insidious Awakening here, and that we were just looking at these, the miscellany of weirdos. Anyways, continuing on, Dick Cheney. So I thought this was hilarious. This, for me, I mean, some of you might remember, I mean, I was a kid, but, you know, I remember because I was very into trading cards at the time, there were Desert Storm trading cards. And of course, Desert Storm was, you know, also known as Iraq War I. And of course, at the time, Dick Cheney was Secretary of Defense before he became Vice President, you know, 10 years later. And so I just came across these and I thought, oh, these are great. In terms of, there's so many things that I like, which are trading cards. It deals with a lot of the themes, let's put it that way. Not that I necessarily like, but it deals with a lot of the themes that I like. It deals, you know, war is a big theme in my work, and so it deals with that. And just the irony of what they were doing. I mean, here they were putting out trading cards of a war, and here, you know, almost reducing it to the, you know, people killing each other, literally, as a kind of pop culture pastime, you know, and here's, you know, collect them all, and there's the Desert Storm thing. So for me, worth a study with the square brush here in the pixel art sketchbook, another sketchbook. There it went to AHEC in a private sale for 35 Tez. So big thank you and shout out to AHEC for that. And big thank you to Authentic Waffles for picking up Sotheby's ad on secondary. That is awesome too. And just a quick, I mean, Gogolitis put out that great video. Again, I was thinking, like, that made me realize, like, I should probably get verified on Twitter so I can put out, like, nice videos. And so I may do that. The cruise ship, the pirate ship of the mind may turn into the cruise ship of the mind, at least for summer here. Retro Manny with a comment on last episode. Awesome to see that accelerator program. Absolutely right. We are all startups, amen, trying to transmute our talents into financial stability. In fact, I was on a sort of accelerator program early last year, which helped a lot. The idea of being an artist as a business is being seen as far more legitimate and fulfilling than it was 20 years ago. It's so true. 20 years ago, without, you know, gallery representation, even 10 years ago, you really didn't have much credibility in a lot of people's eyes. This is thanks to NFTs and blockchain. So the fact that you can do this now is thanks to NFTs and blockchain tech, exactly, despite the negative press and shady actions of a few. In real life, most people are super intrigued when I tell them what I do for a living nowadays. Back in the day, I would get condescending replies or snorts of derision. So interesting, isn't it? And exactly, and, you know, back to the pirate ship, sometimes it's good for it to be unpopular. You know, if everybody is liking NFTs and everything, well, maybe that's not as, maybe that's, in a sense, maybe it's over. You know, but if it's still kind of seen negatively and shady, but then the people you talk to who are open-minded are interested, maybe it's, you know, it's not a bad place to be. Because, yeah, I mean, it means it's not too crowded out here either, which can help you get your, you know, startup going as well. Huge thanks for featuring my work and great show as always. And big shout out to, I believe this is Andre's Summer Blues, actually, and Yud Hooks YZGM. So thanks everybody for the comments. So in the Retro Tools category here, this was posted by Kujeb, who, you know, is looking pretty familiar in that style and that profile picture there. The artist formerly known as ... looks like Kujeb now. Tell me you draw on lo-fi keyboards without saying you draw on lo-fi keyboards. So I thought this was quite interesting. Video Painter. And you see the user interface here, and you see how, like, and look at the colors. It's actually, it's kind of like a brilliant idea for a modern product. I think you could have, there could be something here, and there's even the video expansion pack here, which I was looking at the details. Play pinball on your TV with 5 different backgrounds for you to choose from. So This looks, because I was thinking, how do you export here? But this looks like you could export, it looks like it has RCA, so red, white, and those red, white, and yellow, most importantly, which does the video, cord. So you could probably get an adapter that's USB on one side and RCA on the other, I'm assuming. And Icaro appears to be a classic from 30 years ago, weighs in. So here is the manual. So incredible. And how cool is that? The only way to save the drawings is to record them to VHS. So yeah, but I think there's probably cards as well, like special adapters. I bet you could plug VHS, because I used to have a laptop PC that actually had the yellow, it was an expensive one, and you could actually plug in a VHS, or sorry, a video RCA. So I bet you could do that, and how cool would that be? So I'm pretty curious and excited to see what comes out here. As I was to see this, can you believe what this is? This is a one-color screen print. Just received Point Cloud Turmoil 2 silk screen print from Joni Lemercier, magnifique. And that was Strano who posted that. And look, still some editions left at 350 Tez for this quality of work is a steal. So you see just how powerful it is to screen print. There's a couple of things going on here, just off the top, that I think are kind of interesting. First, look at how beautiful it is. Second, it appears to be a digital file originally, but I'm not positive on that. But it has a bit of a digital feel to it, almost like you'd see, you know, we're going to see some work by Spiegel's Maskinen, almost like these kind of one-bit on-off. There is a bit of a digital feel, although I'm not positive on that. And also, by putting it on black paper, you kind of, it creates this richness when you put actually silkscreen paint on top. It gives it a texture, because inkjet printing is where I'm going with this. First of all, you can't do it on black paper unless you have a very special inkjet printer. And second of all, the texture of the paint going over, and when you see it, really gives it like a substance, an artistic kind of weight. And that really, as you can see, Strano is thrilled and says, what a steal for 350 Tezos, and it's an edition of 100. So the power of physical work, and look, it doesn't need to be complicated. This looks like a one-color screen print, but you do the right, you know, it shows, and again, when we look at Spiegel's Maskinen, think of this. Yeah, so just very interesting. And here it is on object too. Silkscreen print, 50 by 35 centimeters. Not even that big. You can see the size of the pen here, but extremely powerful. And as you see here, this particular aesthetic of the dark sublime is very much influenced by an epic engraving by the epic engraving works of French painter Gustave Doré from 1844 to 1883. So very cool. And as you can see here, look, edition of 100. And I mean, look at the money that could be made here too. Are there only 5 left? Like, has this person sold? Let's just look at the owners here. Okay, there are still 79, but let's say selling 20 at 400, you know, Tezos each. That's 8,000 Tezos. If that's how much, look, most of them went for 350. So that is pretty impressive, and that's since March. So again, let's just say 400 Tezos times 20 is 8,000 Tezos. I mean, you're making rent. Let's put it that way. So there is a market for it, and look, I mean, what are your costs? I mean, it's white paint on black paper, but it's so beautiful. So very brilliant here. And I thought the art, interestingly, it mentioned Gustave Doré, but you know who it reminded me of was Virgil Finlay, actually, the way this beautiful shading is done. And it does look manual. And then I looked it up, and here's Virgil Finlay. I haven't mentioned for like 100 shows, probably. It was the last time I mentioned Virgil Finlay, American, 1914 to 1971. So was a famous science fiction pulp illustrator, and you see here, just kind of has that same feeling here in the sky. And yeah, one of the great, here's the signatures. If you ever see this signature, kind of, I would say like A-class, you know, science fiction pulp illustrator, many people's favorite go-to kind of sci-fi illustrator with this beautiful style here. And it makes you wonder, you see the kind of the interesting dotted shading here too, trademark, makes you wonder if, and it's probably true, if Gustave Doré was mentioned in the first work, and it makes you wonder if Virgil Finlay was also influenced by Gustave Doré, probably in a certain sort of way. Like you see stuff like this, right? It does kind of have this kind of feeling to it. You see this, right? So, you know, not exactly the same. Here's another one. And you don't see the same kind of shading style. Here it's more like, again, it's got this woodcut feel to it. And it probably is an incredibly detailed woodcut. Here's another one. I mean, you do see some dottedness in here, if you can see that. So, very interesting. So, Sabato posted this really interesting glitch work here. And Jesse Soleil, oh my God, I need to learn more about glitch art. Any tutorial suggestions? This is amazing, by the way. Sabato, thanks, Jesse. There are so many approaches to creating glitch art. It depends on what kind of media you want to break. Neptyrus made a great resource that lists tutorials by method. I think using a hex editor or Audacity is a great way to start. So here's the link, and here it is. When you click on the link, this is the address, glitchit.com/resources, and it's pretty cool. Glitchit resources, and so you can see data moshing. It really just gives you tutorials on how to glitch, like proper, you might say. Hex text editing and data as sound, data moshing, and you see all the kind of, a lot of the classic hex editing. So you see a lot of the classic techniques, 3D glitching. So how cool is that? So I thought I would share that because we're always interested in the different tools. And look at all this. Here are like programs, and like a lot of them are free or like $15. Incredible. So that is cool. Zalgo your text, that is free. Speaking of Zalgoing your text, so here is the Zalgoed text here. Popple, it continues, and thank you Elijah Wood for the retweet. And here it is. So Elijah Wood is, I had to look up Elijah Wood. I've heard of Elijah Wood, but that's how few movies I watch. I'm sure I've seen Elijah Wood. Famous Hollywood actor, it turns out, retweeting Popple. So for me, this is an interesting anecdotal evidence that this actually is real, that it's not simply a view counter that's kind of out of control and making everybody feel good about themselves with high views and therefore they will post more and this sort of thing. And I thought it was real, but sometimes you're not sure. To me, okay, now we have like Hollywood stars retweeting Popple, right? And so this is evidence to me, like more like solid anecdotal evidence that this work is getting out there. That when we see, you know, Popple get 4 million views and a Elon Musk tweet get 35 million, with Popple getting 10% of Elon Musk, that is real. And then we're back to the implications of that. So I have, you know, I'm seeing other artists, as we're going to see here in a second. And look, I mean, Popple's getting so big, and I've already followed Popple. That is a glitch in Twitter. It's 64,000 followers here. And so this tweet, okay, so Elijah Wood tweets, so it was at 175,000. And then even just this second tweet, though, I want to see, okay, 12,000, okay, and 7,000 on just this little thing here. But all to say, he has been retweeting your art a few times before, so Elijah Wood is into this scene, and then apparently he's retweeting Nifty Monkey. So I'm telling you, then these people get on some sort of talk show, and they start saying, or they start talking with their friends, this is really bullish. This is really, really bullish. Sean Luke, I started doing it yesterday. I'm probably going to put out one artwork a day. You can schedule on Twitter, which, you know, I'm still just figuring out. So you just schedule your artworks to go out once a day, and why not? It could be a magical time right now where it's, you know, where you're able to do that, and the world hasn't crowded us in yet. We don't have every contemporary artist on the scene trying to do the same thing. It's just us 100 people, or 200 people, perhaps. Sean-Luc, Sensory Overload. So very cool work here from Sean-Luc, a way of repurposing your old work. 119,000 views. Pretty impressive. And so continuing on, if we look at Sean-Luc's feed here, 57,000, 48,000. So again, this is going 43, 45, 43. So yeah, and it seems like pixel art that's moving, or just pixel art, is the real attraction. The stuff that really resonates with the public. So we're back to this idea of pixel art. And I can't remember, maybe it was on the Twitter of the last show. Let me quickly check, because there were some important comments here that I may have missed. And boom, boom. Okay. I shouldn't be improvising like this. And by the way, Mikey de la Creme, thanks for featuring my new mint and for these kind words. These blues pieces are being minted on Foundation and Object. I was struggling for the title for the new one. Your shout out yesterday led me to the perfect title. The Anti-Hero Blues, right. So that is awesome. And thank you everybody for the comments. Back to our show here. Rinny Fish. Good morning. Some bugs are showcased in the silos in Shenzhen, China. Catch the bugs till July 31st. And so here is just a huge television, or maybe it's a projector. I'm not sure. It almost looks like 2001, like one of those, a monolith of sorts. It's massive. I wonder, these must be projections, but they almost look like TVs too in the ratio. Hard to say, but that ratio is different from this ratio. So different projectors with the cool shiny floor. Anyway, great atmosphere here. We always like to show the displaying of digital art in different ways and what seems to work. So this looks really cool. That shiny floor is a nice touch, isn't it? Continuing on, Gogolitis with a work showing the work in progress and all the work that goes into Gogolitis' work. Here's what one of my Aseprite files looks like. It's a bit chaotic with hundreds of layers, but somehow I managed to find my way around it. So here it is, and so working on maybe a new work for Solana or something, you literally see, I mean, you're at layer 900 there. There's probably 1,000 layers. It's incredible that Aseprite can handle that. I imagine you need a pretty good computer. It shows how good of a program Aseprite is if it can handle 1,000 layers and your computer doesn't crash. Pretty cool. And here, I'm working on a massive piece, 64 frames, full HD, 1920 by 1080. So this will fit a TV perfectly. So how rad would that be if your work is going to be displayed on a TV to have, and of course this will be animated, one imagines, so that could just be mind-bending. Especially like, imagine those huge TVs you see in like, here would be like Media Market or Saturn or, you know, Best Buy or wherever. And then you have one of these Gogolitis pieces animated moving. That would be epic. Goyoung Arts. Good morning, my friends. It's getting so hot. Be careful with the heat. So just a really cool work. With some nice sound. It's just a great style. This, again, this kind of masked pixelation. Beautiful illustrator. Almost like those kids' books that I can't remember. Like, you gotta love the solid color for the each tree, and then you just put the leaves inside and it just looks beautiful. Same sort of style going with the, this looks like World Trade Center 1 or the new Freedom Tower. It looks like that's, and kind of the same idea. You just put a color and then you put stuff on top and then it just starts to look interesting. So very cool, same thing here. And with the cloud, just 3 colors with really interesting shapes here. So beautiful work as ever by Goyoung Arts. Really interesting work here, kind of a nice semi-surreal work here by Alana Denina. Filet Mignon 2023. Kind of a dark work here. I'm stripped of my essence, objectified and consumed just like a piece of meat. So pretty dark work here, but a powerful one and beautifully painted here. And here's someone just You know, it reminds me of the Autumn Cannibals, but kind of meeting Frida Kahlo a little bit. And who is that other artist whose name escapes me right now? And this looks like a heart right here. So the fork is going into the body and the fork is going into the heart. And this looks almost like it's the same person, the way with the white nail polish, interestingly. So who knows what's going on there? A really interesting, provocative work by Lana Denina. The Myth. Now, the Mitt. Self-portrait 3,333 in the Astral for 33 Tezos each, and there are 4 left. Edition of 10 from the Myth. So a cool kind of work here, mysterious work, red hoodie, and the wrestler mask seemingly, and then the classic colors in the background, Myth sky, but a little bit more painterly. And a bit of a lighter blue here too, and some Myth mass in the background, and the trademark kind of eyes looking off in a kind of almost madness, but not quite. Self-portrait in the Astral, so 4 left at 33 Tezos, minted a couple of days ago. So I never saw where did I see it? I saw it on Twitter, but I missed it in my notifications here. So you still have time to get that on primary. Bazaya Pink Heart, with what looks like Braveheart in pink, and then with almost a matador's costume here, and then on a horse, so probably a pastiche of maybe a 19th century work that I don't recognize, and this beautiful foliage here, almost reminiscent of Rousseau a little bit, Henri Rousseau, and then this kind of background, soft, painted, textured background here of a sun, very strange in a good way, and this kind of out of focus, depth of field sort of style here with Mel Gibson here as Braveheart, and interesting kind of, looks like again pastiche of an older work. Pink Heart, Fake Weapons, and Pink Uniform, edition of 10, and that sold out on primary at 25 Tezos each. And this is a cool work by RJ, and it's not minted yet. It got delayed at the gallery. So I think this is once again delayed as laptop is still at the shops, coming ASAP though. So I think this is I suspect this is another work by RJ using likely artificial intelligence to remix other paintings, other painters' works, let's say, almost a kind of, you know, I call it like, you know, not to overstate it, I call it like a spectral pastiche, where it's taking an AI remix of probably of another painter's painting, get the AI to remix it, and then then apply RJ's pixel art technique on top as a source. This is kind of like how I always saw my original vision of AI before I saw the power of raw AI and realized it was to use it as a compositional tool for compositional ideas. So that is coming soon once RJ's laptop is out of the shop. Quilanina, Weira Puma, a digital painting. It's an open edition for only 3 Tezos. And kind of an interesting mystical artist out of, I believe, Peru and Argentina, if I'm not mistaken. Really interesting patterning here with the rainbow. Always has kind of like this, again, it's like you want to group it with like visionary painters, like Alex Gray and everything. Just a really interesting artist. And there seems to be a storm with this kind of electric sky here. And then figures looking on, and a nice, beautiful fire made in Procreate. Quilanina often, I think, minted a ton of her acrylic paintings, and now is doing Procreate works, just pure digital works. So it's super interesting to watch the transition there. And so that is available for 3 Tezos. And Authentic Waffles. So I thought Authentic Waffles was shutting down the account. I don't know what's going on there. There is a new work. He sent me one, by the way, for transparency. I loved the work, so I'm happy to show it. Clowny Clown Clown. Compression of the music video for Clowny Clown Clown by Crispin Hellion Glover, 1989. And so a beautiful work here. And you gotta love the different styles. Like here you have pixelation. It looks like it's using several programs. And just interesting. I don't know the reference. as usual, and maybe a lot of clowns and everything. So another just kind of, it's one of the styles that Hasdrubal or Authentic Waffles uses, which is this kind of, I'd almost want to call it like the chaos style, almost the notebook style, where it's just everything and everywhere, and it's just like those schizophrenic paintings. Let's just see if we can bring those up quickly. Yeah, and here's another kind of in that style, and maybe it's the other Waffles account. It's probably the other Waffles account. It is. So we'll continue on. PP Universal. Duck Hunt. This is a beautiful work. I might have to pick this up. There's one left at 7 Tezos. A really interesting take. It reminds me of that other work with the ayahuasca and the person throwing up the rainbow. This is beautiful. Really, really nice piece. It just kind of grabs you. And again, one left at 7 Tezos. Also, Dan Control. Moving from Duck Hunt to the pigeons here. This was a stunner. The color here, and again, the background is quite interesting, kind of using, remember the Hokusai wave that was being referenced as in the background? So again, so beautiful, interesting abstraction of the background. You could just take, you know, if this is a picture of a pigeon, it looks like what Dan Control is doing is taking all the colors in the background and then creating a gradient and then just dragging it across. Very simple, very beautiful, and then contrasting with the beautiful neck of the pigeon. Beautiful. Another witty work, Balance. A ladder is of little use in these cases. So again, combining other works into a new composition here. So just combining all these other works, the lighter, the megaphone, the washing machine, detergent, the TV, and all of these items you might find around the house or in the garage, and into one work. Edition of 10 sold out. One available on secondary for 50 Tezos. Another use of combination and repetition, equity. So TVs almost has weirdly a bit of a Max Ernst feel to this one. So 5 columns of TVs. Very cool piece here. Available for 8 Tezos on primary, 6 left. Jenna Mikkel, who I don't know if we've shown Jenna's work before, Details 113, Details 113. And I thought this was just kind of a interesting, I think it's an illustration, digital illustration or painting. I thought it was just kind of beautiful. This young couple with their, you know, Volkswagen van on the beach and everything, stopped for a kiss. They look like they just got married. Very beautiful work here. Edition of 1 for 100 Tezos. Let's just take a quick look at the other work here. So you see kind of this, everything you imagine is real. I think Picasso said that too. Yeah, and I kind of agree with that. So yeah, look at this interesting composition here. So edition of 5 for 25.55. Look at that. Pretty interesting artist. So very cool. Smonter with a new work after taking a break, Coffee with a Friend. Really interesting artist here and really interesting perspective. I thought this was a really interesting piece. You get the phones, very modern work, only a Tezos. I picked one up, only 2 left. So they are selling here. So that is cool from Smonter. Boo Boy with a really cool new work here as well. So again, playing with a lot of the usual, you know, happy faces that we see in Boo Boy's work. Similar colors, kind of this 1970s print feel to the colors. Kind of a bit of a watercolor feeling too, textured paper, almost like a reference to Grant Yun here, seemingly. And then here's the surveillance cameras from other artists in the scene. So interesting work here, and this almost looks like a gallery, abstract painting. A lot going on here. The 11 Cows City. Let's see if there's explanation. There are 11 different time and weather conditions divided into 11 districts, each district. You can order from the cow of the district, which will have a district number stamp. The only way to come home is via Boo Boy Photo Automat. So maybe part of this series where we saw the Automat just, I think, the last show. Interesting illustration here. Teratiru Bozu with kind of a demon figure here. And I quite liked how, I think my favorite part, weirdly, I think the demon is awesome. Interesting take on a demon. just from a purely innovative point of view, there is the original portrayal of the demon here. And there's also how these clouds combine with the weather and then bleed, the color from the letters bleed into the clouds, seemingly. And I thought that was quite interesting. Kind of gives it a magical feeling to it. Wild Demon, Scary, Ready to Punish Anyone, one of one art piece. So find that on Tudoru Bozu's feed. Another interesting illustration by Shaney. Good morning. So I'm not sure if this is old or new, but I thought it was interesting. I'd never seen it before. And all these hands, the surrealists loved hands as well, kind of has that kind of, you know, that the hand without a body kind of has a life of its own. And here you see them tied together with string. So interesting, you know, interesting piece. An interesting portrayal of the hands, which look almost semi-android, but not. Interesting colors too. And the hands are in red. These red ones are in red, so interesting piece from Shaney. I'm sure we've looked at Shaney's work before. Also, this came out from Verse, and this is Kwampa is the artist, and we've seen Kwampa's work before, so there's these super horizontal works here. I believe MS Paint is used for these very original pieces here. And as you're going to see, so this is part of a whole series, and you see how great they look. I don't know if this is printed or if this is a screen, but it looks great. And here you see the whole show put out by Verse.works and Kwampa Simple Thoughts. And here you see the different artworks here. And I think we saw auction one for 1.29 ETH. So impressive kind of looking site, isn't it? Verse. So I think we saw them a couple of months ago. So they are still going. And so very interesting. It has a nice feel to it, what's going on Verse. Dean Drade Carlos, Hitchhiker. And continuing on, we're already at 37 minutes. Let's cruise here. So just kind of an interesting piece here with a car. Let's see if it loads up. And you almost see a blinking eye here. So almost, again, a window into inner space somehow, and they just kind of alternate. Surreal. And nice textures and everything. Really interesting work here. Edition of 10, 450. Tezos, Hitchhiker. Interesting work here. There's the hitchhiker, there's the car. So here are the works I was talking about. Again, you start to think, you know, screen print just white on black, you know, could get interesting here with all this beautiful dithering by Spiegelmaschinen. And I'll make that a bit bigger here. And so this is a whole car series here. The Journey, here's Parking, 320 by 240. Bayer dithering, 2 colors, GIF. Here's another one. This is a one of one for 500 Tezos. And so you see you're going through the cars here and it's raining. So beautiful work there. And let's keep going here. And this is called Gasoline. So filling up. So a cool homage to the car with this great kind of light coming across it and this very simple, beautiful dithering here. Again, really nicely put together here by Spiegelmaschinen. Continuing with the black and white, Santiago and NZFS, and I believe there's music here. And this came out, yeah, June 21st, edition of 15. Kind of looks like Santiago's drawings here. Maybe NZFS is doing the music. So interesting work here. Buy now for 20 on primary, 12 left. So very interesting work here. Icaro, Little Cakes, and Neptyrus. This is a one of one I picked up, luckily, on primary. Art Shouldn't Be Spiritual at an auction for only 35 Tezos for this awesome one of one. So I was thrilled to pick this up. Beautiful, one of these abstracts that Santiago has been working on. I missed this one. This was over the weekend. I really wish I got this one. This image is true by Human Kernel, who may be Santiago considering how close the styles are here. I would have loved to have gotten this one. This feels like a small masterpiece here. I was outbid at 5 in the morning by this account here, by that guy. So beautiful, beautiful work here. This image is true. And here's another one that came out, just these beautiful abstracts here. It's really going somewhere, these works here. Here's another one that just came out. Kind of has a bit of a face here. They seem to have these kind of ghostly faces. Kind of reminds me, I wish I could remember the name, artist Andre Butzer. Let me just show you who this reminds me of. Yeah, this guy at Hetzler. This sort of stuff. You see the eyes here. Andre Butzer, very prominent contemporary artist. And I guess that's Andre. Yeah, you see this sort of thing. Very famous for these sort of works here. And they kind of reminds me, when you see that, and then you see, you know, then you see the faces here within these works. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Andre Butzer. So that is interesting. Interesting parallel. Haiti Roquette with another abstract work using brilliance and interesting colors, and again, nice contrast with the static and the dynamic pixels here. Beautiful work, and there are, let me just quickly see, yeah, selling at 37 Tezos, pretty nice, selling out. So that is awesome. Keeping 4 for himself, beautiful on the side here too. Very nice piece, they're beautiful. This is stunning. I mean, it's unfortunate what happened here. Someone bought all of them. Someone bought all of Françoise Gama's beautiful ROM work here. And I get it from a financial perspective, but I mean, cornering the market basically. And now someone put in an offer at 5, it's not being taken. I put in an offer at 10 because I just thought it was like the nicest, like such a nice glitch ROM work. My favorite that Françoise Gama put out, so I just kind of had to have it. I didn't want to encourage that though. I mean, otherwise everybody will start buying everything that's 1 or 2 Tezos, and then nobody else can buy it. So yeah, so this person here, probably with no Twitter account, yeah, no Twitter account, bought them all. So continuing on, Sabato with a cool 1 of 1, golden hour approaches, so a glitch work here too. So maybe some data, I don't know, data bending. Got to get the terminology right. Cool title, and I think this was just sent to Oxeye. Very cool. I thought this was just an interesting abstract here from XMVFX, and pixelation mixed with kind of dragging and everything. Just kind of a cool work here. Another very interesting piece from this account that I can't read, Hermeep, and let's just see the translation. The sketches I used to do in the city have been replaced by SNS. It's interesting to draw randomness in the motif because it's someone else's point of view. So you can see the source here, and look at that. So again, like very cool kind of pixel art sketching. And look at that. That is so funny, and I love this. So just a really cool work here. Very cool. And here is one by Imposter. So playing with that, this text does really well. It's tempting to use it, 42,000. Attention grabber. This text tends to do really well, so maybe I'll try what I call the matrix text, and just a really cool, you know, ASCII, PETSCII, 3D object. So combining different processes there. Green Ginger with a really cool piece, Ethereal Highway, just a cool pixel art piece, some nice dithering here, nice gradients, and in this futuristic city, just a cool piece, very cheap, 1 Tezos 70. Right Hands by mech.txt, so again, keeping the animation in the pixel artwork here, and a hand coming down into a pool, almost has a mythological feel to it, now on secondary for 10,000. But sold on primary. It was just transferred, so probably to people who owned other works. And also mech.txt collaborating with Demon Ego. So stay tuned, doing a collab with him in the future. That should be cool. Stippen Pixel with a cool work. And seems like Stippen Pixel's market is heating up here. People are cluing in. 5 Tezos each, and now available for 45. So Stippen growing the market here. So very cool, just kind of pixel art, dithering, Sunday Tremors. And Popple working with GIF Gallery, edition of 25. So very interesting, different kind of pixelation here. Battle Angel Descending, 800 pixels by 800 pixel. Let me just, Angel of Kenzai for the Sharon Schritt exhibition, which is included other artists too. I would check it out, but we're kind of running long here, so let's just keep going here. Very cool and sold at different prices along the way. Maybe you can put an offer in. Continuing on bit by bit with a couple of just cool retro works here. That classic green and black screen. This is from PC Paint 3.1, just a nice landscape with kind of pyramid architecture, and Pixeland 9002 with just some cool kind of, again, green and black work. Reminds me of the Apple IIe from my youth. And just another, speaking of my youth, this old printer using Banner Mania Virus. I thought this piece was great by Bit by Bit. Just a very cool work, and I think this is a GIF. Because some of these are MP4s. I quite like it as a GIF. Very cool. 1 of 1 for 15 Tezos. Can't go wrong. And just another experiment here from Bit by Bit. Kid Picks. So more experimentation with Kid Picks. This is a 1 of 1 for 9 Tezos. And then True Face with, this looks incredibly exciting. Soon, OG Tarot. So this looks like maybe True Face is going to make a tarot deck, and this looks like it could be totally rad. And here, even the text, and of course, True Face makes Pablo Radice makes their own makes his own algorithms, I think, in AI. So that could be super interesting to see. And of course, we know True Face from these works here that we looked at the other day. So just a really cool, interesting artist. And here, these would hang well together. The Orange Room, Venta times AI. So just another super interesting work by Venta. This also seems to be going somewhere, and very nice colors and just complexity. Very interesting piece. Edition of 10, and all sold out for 8 Tezos within a few hours. So very cool. There's Mikey Wilson on the scene. And strange thing, adding candles this time, not slowing down here. So the purse, so it's almost a combination of 3 different things. The Italian relief sculpture, or Baroque relief sculpture with fashion, modern fashion, and now introducing candles into the mix, which isn't, this black one is really cool too. So just creating increasingly surreal objects here. Very surreal. So the handbag with fire in it. I mean, it's quite something, isn't it? It's like the handbag as sculpture or as architectural structure, right? So an interesting recontextualization by Strange Thing. Very cool. And then Zoom, Where I Want to Be, another one of these interiors. AI works with mirrors and playing with mirrors and everything, which is super interesting. Edition of 5, it is sold out at 3 Tezos each. And finally, Delta Sauce, with who I haven't seen from for a while, probably just my Twitter feed, with a nice kind of soothing coffee in a beautiful landscape there. Feels like summer holidays. On the cruise ship of the mind here, and Mopey Wellington Convenience. Another, I mean, it feels like a Renoir of sorts. Beautiful color here. Just beautiful color. Mopey Wellington, edition of 1, sold for 275 Tezos. That is awesome. To Trippy Collector. Shout out to Trippy Collector. And finally, Christopher Dunlap. This is quite beautiful, I thought, and not sure which gallery Christopher Dunlap is with, but pretty nice piece here on Instagram. And finally, we looked at Quampa before, who had the show with Verse. So this is a physical work, I believe, and this is on Foundation, and that sold for 0.11. Just kind of a cool, abstract physical work. So you see the range. And again, having physical work really does add to your credibility, I think, as an artist. There's nothing wrong without having it, but I think it really just, it's a major, it just gives you a lot of range, and it's worth doing. It just adds to your credibility. Let's put it that way. Thank you everybody for watching. Until next time, take care.